Hi, I'm Brienne. I'm here in Spain in plein air painting doing a workshop. If your watercolor paintings feel flat or confusing, you may be focusing too much on color. Let me show you how I build a plein air painting using simple value layers. So let's get painting. To start this painting process, I will start with a value study, which I do before every painting, in or out of the studio. I'm just positioning the shapes within my frame right here with pencil. Then I will bring in marker to get more of the value shapes, because it's the value relationships that I care about. So I first did a light marker, colored in kind of the lighter areas around the white of the paper. Then I have this middle value, which is the middle value of the ocean and then some of the trees and going around that white building, okay? And again, it's not about the details. I'm not trying to get detailed. I'm really just looking at big overall light, middle, and dark value shapes. This is the benefit of a value study, and that's all we need. Should be quick and decisive. Okay, so then I go and I'm going to draw my composition a little more carefully onto my watercolor paper. I'm using Saunders Waterford 200-pound cold press watercolor paper. Now I can start to bring out pools of paint. So I start with cobalt blue here and lots of water, a little bit of pigment. So paint consistency of tea or coffee. Now I'm bringing in quinacridone rose. As most of the time I will start with a red, yellow, and a blue. And the yellow that I'm using is transparent yellow oxide. Now if I'm not getting enough paint out, that's what a squirt bottle is for. Very useful tool when painting en plein air. Now I'm ready to start the first wash. Okay, with the first wash, what I do is I'm going to start with the sky. I always start at the top and then work my way down. With the first wash, what I'm thinking of is tinting the whites or the light. Okay, I am going to finish the sky, but I am not really going to I'm not going to paint a lot of white. I'm going to paint whatever around any kind of whites that I see. And here it's not too many, but I'm going to tint the paper. You can think of the white paper as like titanium white right out of the tube when painting in oil or gouache or acrylic. I rarely, when painting in those mediums, I would rarely paint just pure white. So I treat watercolor in the same way. And white paper, that way I want to tint it either a little warmer or cooler. And so that's the idea. Okay, so for the sky, I did that really light bluish lavenderish wash, right? And I brought in some of these darker clouds. You can kind of see it there in the reference photo that they had these wonderful warm gray clouds next to that light blue sky. And so that sky is just very damp, but I'm controlling the water in my brush. There's not a lot of water. I seep out some of it with a paper towel near the ferrule. Okay, and so that way there is some water in the brush, but you don't want too much. If there's too much, then the water will push the pigment out into the other places. And so that's where you get blooms or cauliflowers. Okay, so here we're just painting in the shape of the clouds. And in most cases, I like to paint my skies in one go and have that be finished. So you can watch my sky videos to see more of that process. But the other thing I should mention is as I was painting those grays, I was adjusting it with those red, yellow, and blue. So I just combine those. Give the sky a little squirt so that it can keep moving and changing and mixing. Now I'm going to go into the rest of the painting, and here's where I'm going to tint kind of the lighter portion of the rocks, and I'm going to tint the surf, the white surf. So it's not white, I am going to tint it with something, but once I put all the other values on, it will appear white. It's just going to be a different white, right? So here I'm bringing in some warm tones with the transparent yellow oxide and some quinacridone rose mixed in with a little blue or lavender, of course. Okay, and the water, remember, I'm not looking at the blue yet. I'm looking at the white of the surf. So just as another, I know I keep talking about white, but in a way that's a good lesson for this, is that think of Home Depot. When you go to Home Depot and you have, white, those white, how many of those white little chips are they, in the paint department, right? There's so many different whites. So even you can see in the water area, notice how it's like dirty water. It's not pure white. And that's the kind of thing I'm doing. I'm softening the white of that paper, even around the building, which is a white building, but I'm warming it up with some yellows and, again, just kind of dirty-ish water so that it's not pure white. So I am now working on dry paper, but I've now changed to a synthetic brush, okay, because I want to control that water a little more. So this again is still just a mixture of transparent yellow oxide, quinacridone rose, and cobalt blue, but now I've just added more pigment. I've loaded it up so that now we're working with coffee to milk consistency. Now, as I paint, you'll notice that I am adjusting the mixture. That's why I like to work with red, yellow, and blue. Now, I've also added lavender into that. You can see a little opacity. I like to play with transparent and opaque pigments. You just have to be careful with it. But what I'm doing is I'm varying these shapes and colors as I go and letting them kind of blend and mix together so it becomes exciting. Add a little more red in the top there. And now I can bring in with a different brush. Notice while it's still damp, I'm going to bring in some of those greens that we see from the foliage that's on top of the rocks. And I do that on purpose. I want the greens to blend and bleed right into the rock colors, because then they kind of, it is all one shape. It's just I'm changing color, but the value's all the same. So I should rephrase that. It's all one value shape, okay? And that's a key difference, is that you can have the same value shape, but have different colors. Yeah, I'm kind of working left to right and adjusting things. I squirt every so often, like you saw, just waft it over there so that it can stay alive. And I am going to thoughtfully paint around any of those white areas. Remember that we didn't leave any white paper, but you can see how light that paper looks. And that's because we've now brought in middle values. So the value relationship is really high. There's a higher contrast. So I'm going to be painting around the white surf, but this is going to be the light value of the water. Eventually I'll be coming over it with a darker value. Now what I'm going to do is just try to indicate the white that's right around the rock. Of course, the water is constantly moving, so it's hard to get it exact. I just try to indicate some of the shapes that I see. And as I paint the blue of the water, I'm still going to also vary some, so I might add a little red or yellow just to tone down the blue and adjust the colors a little bit. Going right up to the rock in some places because I don't necessarily want to outline it, except for where there might be the surf. Okay, now with the water, the light value of the water done, I'm going to come into the rocks and start to bring some form. You notice I dropped some darker variation, suggesting the plane changes within those rock faces. I put down a shape and then I soften an edge, put down a shape, soften an edge, so that you just get the indication that these rocks are going in and out. So you can see as we build a painting, I'm start by tinting those lightest lights, right? Which you look at that first wash of the sky and how light that feels compared to how dark it felt at the beginning. Then as we start to bring in the middle values, or I should say first, the light values of the rock and the buildings, and then we have the light value of the water, which is still kind of a light middle value. Then we're starting to bring in darker values into the trees, and it creates more form. As you can see, I am now bringing in some darker shadow shapes underneath the tree, and that's just going to create even more form. So we want a sunlit side of those trees, which is kind of on top and in front, and then underneath those trees is going to be fairly dark because that's where the shadow side is. So in order to do that, you have to make sure you have enough pigment. So in order to get this green, by the way, the darker green, I use a sap green as like it's a shortcut, and then I'll add violet to that, or some ultramarine blue. I would just add different colors, some reds to get some variation in the greens. And that's really the secret to greens, is varying them so you're not using the exact same green everywhere. And as we build, you can see by working light to dark, it's tricky because we don't know how dark we're going to get. But with experience, that's how I know I'm going to get, how dark I'm going to get. Okay, I'm using the back of my fingernail to scrape out some suggestions of branches and trunks within those mass of trees. Just like with the trees, I use the shadow of the rocks to inform and define. So, for instance, I have a dark shape that might inform a lighter shape in front of it. So I'm always trying to think about not just the value and the colors of each of these shapes, but how they inform the shapes around them. Now I'm going to bring some of the details onto that main white hotel. Again, these are, small windows, so there's not much definition in them, but I do still want to vary the spacing between them, vary the sizes. Now, one thing I notice is I need to darken the water. Value-wise, that's way too dark. Remember that light blue was the lighter portion of the water. But if you really look at the value of that water, it's fairly dark. So we need more pigment. So I've just got a mix of, again, the 3 primaries, but I probably add some ultramarine blue in there as well. And also some turquoise I'll be adding as I get closer, because there's wonderful turquoise in the water. Okay, and as it comes in, I notice that the surf kind of angles. So I'm noticing that angle, and notice as I paint these strokes, I'm doing it at the diagonal. But this little variation in water and getting some reflection into the water will help with the depth and the feeling of the water. Keep it simple. Don't get overcomplicated. And that's it. I finished this plein air study here in Spain, and I hope this was helpful in noticing how I build a painting from the lighter values to the middle values to the dark values. So this takes painting practice, mile on a brush, and don't forget your value study. Thanks for watching. I hope you enjoyed it. And please like and subscribe to my channel if you want to see more tips and tutorials. You can also visit my website at travelingcolorstudio.com for more full demonstration videos. Have fun and happy painting.